podcast, Martin Sheen was talking about, he was playing this role, and he was like, this is the best I've ever done. And he walked up to some revered actress, and he's like, she's going to tell me that was the best thing I've ever done. And the actress just looked at him and was like, be careful to not be so happy with yourself. And that's what I felt the new Predator was. It just seemed like it was very look at us. And AVP is just a scrappy little thing that so, I have a lot of friends who really aren't into the pretentious films. They just want, if a movie is called Eating a Sandwich, they want someone to eat a sandwich and they're happy. Like that's what they want. And I remember talking to people about this movie after it was over, and they just said to me, Mark, all I wanted, I love aliens, I love predators, I wanted to see them, and I wanted to see a fight. And I saw a fight, and I'm happy. It was worth my $8. And so, yeah, I mean, that's why this movie made 180 million worldwide. That's pretty good. And if you think about, all right, so get this. Predator 2, right? I liked Predator 2, but it didn't do well in theaters. And then you had Alien Resurrection, which is oofta. So it's not like this franchise had a lot of heat. Like, it was coming off of two movies that underperformed, and it overperformed. So, I mean, audiences must have liked it.
Well, no, again, they didn't take itself too seriously.
Yeah.
I came out of there like, well, I mean, I wasn't like dejected, right? I wasn't gosh, that was a waste. Or I was just like, yeah, I just like, the Predator grabbing that alien, swinging him across the freaking stone and having him hit stuff, and the special effects at the time, if you want to call them special effects, look good. And I saw some aliens. I do wish it would have been. You mentioned slime before. One of the little fun facts of it was PG-13. They actually rate it because of slime. Like, I don't know, they did. Like they said,
really?
PG-13 and violence. I don't know if they use the word gore or whatever, but they actually use the word slime.
I need to find that. That's amazing.
You need to find it, and it's slime. I think it said slime, but it was somewhere on the goo, slime, whatever. And you mentioned goo a couple of times, how much goo they had to use. But I was like, that's where a lot of the angst came about the movie, where it's like the PG-13.
Oh, yeah, the slime. When the alien queen was dropping out those Brussels sprouts
and the lightning everywhere. Yeah. By the way, why the hell was there lightning? Just so you know, if you go back and watch, there's a lightning storm around the Queen, and I don't know why there was freaking lightning.
Aliens.
It made no sense. There you go.
Hey, certainly. Now, the aliens, the xenomorphs, they're the good guys in this movie because they're kidnapped. They are in prison. They're the underlings. They're the ones that are they're the captives. So this alien queen who has thought, who has anger, who can rally all these aliens around, who has a higher thought, is kept in a stasis for these predators. So, and these predators, man, I've never been impressed too much with predators because once these guys realized they could get their laser cannons for their shoulders, they got wiped out by grid. And like Predator 1, like Tony, you and I aren't alien hunters. But if we could be invisible and we had heat-sinking cannons on our shoulders and we could heal,
we'd be pretty well off.
Nothing would. I mean, what? I guess that people hide in faraway spots and wait for an animal to come. So, but these guys, it's not too impressive, I guess, because they're blowing them up with heat-sinking cannons.
That's actually. I've thought about that for a long time, and I think maybe the director thought of that because he wiped out two predators pretty fast with grid. But I think you're right. If you're invisible, you got a cannon that basically aims itself. They go out like, hey, we're not going to die. We're going to blow up everybody else with us. You strip down like with the stuff they have or whatever, like towards, what Arnold did or whatever in Predator 1.
Yeah.
They're not, they're like Batman, but like 10 feet tall. Yeah. They have all the strength that you could possibly want, but without their tech or whatnot, they're just not, again, well, like you said it, if we were out there in the woods with being invisible, that's a pretty damn good advantage. And like that, they had no shot.
Yeah.
It's like, put yourself together, especially with humans, like, a heat-seeking, like, 2,000-year new weapon versus, granted, I don't have a pretty good gun or whatnot, but some sort of semi-automatic or automatic gun. I don't know. I've thought about it, but not the way you just described it. But maybe the director was thinking that way, too, because he took them out pretty fast. If you think about it.
Did you ever read the 1989 comic of Alien vs. Predator? Were you ever into those?
Yeah, so my cousin had one, and I read it, and that was another piece of this movie, too, that needs to be appreciated, because that comic was pretty good.
Yeah.
And if you go back, and there was a lull there, from when the first Predator came out, then they had those comics, and everybody wanted to see. And of course, Danny Glover, where they saw the alien when he went into the spaceship, and he saw a piece of the alien.
Mm-hmm.
They've been wanting to have like this movie for quite a bit, and that's a lot of build up. And if there was major disappointment, I don't think it would have made money.
Yeah.
Like if you look at the box office, and like it actually it was nice and steady. And in fact, kind of like the movie, to be frank, it was not overwhelming. It wasn't underwhelming. You got what you saw or wanted to see, and then you left. That's really what it was. If they would have followed more of the comic, I think they could have been in a little better shape. But it's tough to do with that. It was coming around that time of technology where they really couldn't make those kind of movies from the comics. I guess they could, but it would have been pretty tough, with that kind of character.
All right, so I got 2 facts for you before we go on break here. So one fact is Braveheart's name, Tommy Flanagan, his character's name was Mark Verheiden. That's the writer of the Dark Horse comic book. So that Easter egg is in there. Then 2, in the beginning, when Sanaa Lathan Lex is climbing on that ice frozen waterfall, they went to the Italian Alps, and that is the highest set ever built. They had a stuntman on that, but this production designer went out on the Italian Alps and built a 20-foot set, put a bunch of water on it, froze. They flew Sanaa Lathan out there in negative 30-degree weather, and she was actually climbing that in the Italian Alps. And at the time, it was the highest set ever built. How do you feel about that?
That, again, goes back to my point of why I like the movie.
Yep. They built it, right? They built it.
Again, when you know that type of stuff, you can see it in the movie itself on the build-up. And it's like the director, again, knew, like, everybody's wanting to see Alien versus Predator. You're going to have to wait. But until that time, we're going to make things look pretty damn good. That's really what I thought. I think that was his plan. Like, you have movies that really don't have plans or kind of shuffled together. There's like 50 million scenes within like 30 seconds. That's another thing, too, in the movie. Like, in the fight scenes, it wasn't there was actually sets, not sets, but the cut scenes and stuff were actually fairly long.
Yeah, the choreography.
Like, they weren't like cut. I mean, I can't stand that. But I know you mentioned break or whatever, so yeah, very. I got to keep me on pace here.
Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, I got some more fun facts for you. How's that sound?
Sounds good, brother.
All right, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Movies, Films, and Flicks. And I got to tell y'all something. So Tony and I, in 2004, 2005, we're big Star Wars fans. We still are. And we were challenged. So I bought a Star Wars Trivia Pursuit with a DVD at Barnes & Noble for about $50. And we were challenged.
It was legit.
It was a good one. And we were challenged by 2 super Star Wars fans who had full-on tattoo sleeves of everything Star Wars.
This guy had a Rebel Alliance tattoo on his freaking, and it wasn't a small one. Like, it was legit Rebel Alliance. His uncle could have been Wedge.
Yeah, I mean these guys, but I mean they were like real, like legit sleeved up, love Star Wars, and we wiped the floor with them, man, in Star Wars Trivia Pursuit.
That was one of the more glorious. When you play sports, like you win the last shot or whatever, or and whatever like level of sports you played or whatever, you have that moment of glory. I would put that moment of glory when we beat those guys in trivia up there with anything in my life, because I will tell you, like, those guys were so, when we beat them. Oh
man, yeah,
they were devastated. And I forgot some of the questions that the trivia thing asked, and I forgot what the winning was. They just like looked at us like, what the hell?
They were mad. They were mad. So
actually. Yeah, and this is during the time of, was 03, no.
Yeah, I don't think Revenge of the Sith was yet. I think we did it before Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, so there's a lot of build-up. I mean, there was everybody, I mean, a lot of build-up for that stuff or whatnot, but they were legit angry. And we went over to their house, too. We brought the game over. We brought the game over to their house. Did we even know these people?
Yeah, they were my good friends. I worked with them at the bar. At Big Daddy's.
Okay.
Yeah, so like I worked with them. Like we were all friends. But they sort of transformed. So you and I, we weren't like, I think you and I kind of thought we were gonna lose, and we were just like, hey, let's go hang out, drink some cheap beer, have some fun, like it'll be a fun time. When we started winning, I think that's when it kind of got real for us. But they got real serious, and the vibe got a little weird, and then you were nailing questions. They're like, so in Empire Strikes Back, there's a scene on Cloud City where 17 people walk by. what was the person in the right, left, center, front wearing? And then you were like, they were wearing khakis with an orange top and a blue hat. And then that's correct. Like, you were on fire for that thing.
It just came out of me, dude. It was an unbelievable moment, and we were asked to leave quickly after we won, which made it all the more slick. And that was legit, dude.
They got very sullen, and I always because then I saw them probably that night working, and I was like, "What's up, guys?" And they're like, they were mad at me for a couple of days.
Dude, if I got beaten trivia and I had a Star Wars tattoo, I'd be pretty pissed off too. Nothing against that, by the way. You got a Star Wars tattoo, that is perfectly fine. Whatever you want to have,
awesome.
Whatever. I think that's awesome. Yeah. In fact, that's the first thing I noticed, and probably that's where we're like a little trivia. You probably saw his damn tattoos. So
yeah, and then,
that was an amazing story.
Yeah, and then,
well done.
But I mean, that was good, man. It shows our nerd credentials back in the day. Can I drop a couple more weird facts on you here?
Yes.
All right. So, when you watch a lot of films, and I've worked on some that use fake snow, and you watch maybe Hallmark movies or all these movies these Christmas movies on Hallmark and Lifetime, they shoot not during Christmas because they're May, April, and then they edit them, then they release them during the Christmas time. So there's never snow on the ground. So a lot of them use like spray foam, or they just have these cloth that they put over trees, and like it never looks good. It always looks bad. But in AVP, what I found out was Paul Anderson said that potatoes, they make the best looking snow, but you don't want to use them because sets get really hot and then they turn into mashed potatoes. So you don't want to use those. But they use foam that they would blast into the air, and then as it was dropping, they would do a take, and they would yell, cut, blast it in the air again. But the fake snow in this movie, at least when they're standing there with it coming by them, I loved it. I liked the fake snow in this movie a lot, and it was kind of foam consistency.
So go back to the potatoes. Like, so what they use those for again?
So you can chop up potatoes really thin, and then you can spray them, and it looks like snow.
I'll be damned.
But see, the cleanup, man, that's why you don't do it. So it's kind of the thing where it's the best, but you also have mashed potatoes on the floor.
Well, it depends on how you cook the potatoes. You peel a potato, and it turns brown, but I guess they were using some sort of like mashed potato. That's again, coming from you, that's something you would freaking know. That's the kind of stuff you should get. That's amazing.
Yeah, I have that tattoo on me right now, actually. So, what do you think about the whole backstory? So they came into what 2000 BC, and they taught everybody how to. So let's see. So this is the timeline. This is the timeline. Yeah. In 3.2 billion BC, an engineer sacrificed himself to seed an Earth-like planet, possibly Earth, with the building blocks of life. In 2996 BC, the predators or Yautja arrive on Earth, and they teach humans to build pyramids and are worshipped as gods. However, so they only do that for 10 years. And then the aliens take over, according to this timeline. So they build all these pyramids. Yeah, whoops. They
blow it up.
Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. In 100 years. I apologize. So they teach them how to do it.
That's still a pretty short timeline.
Yeah, and so they get wiped out. But then they keep hunting. Again, so what do you think about this whole pyramid? Because pyramids have been found on every almost continent. So, like, what do you think about that back plot?
It comes out of left field, but I think you appreciate it when you watch it because it's just a cool little scene. Like, the people sacrificing themselves. I mean, and for the record, I think Ridley Scott stole the hell out of that with his Alien Covenant and, it's Prometheus. If you think about it, there's certain elements to that storyline with the aliens and you mentioned the engineer or whatever, but like that whole concept of I guess the predators in this case would be the engineers, but that concept of like, hoarding over them or whatnot. Yeah. I think it's not all of it, okay? Like a certain, maybe 20%, 25, you can do a percent on it, but there's certain elements to that where, they took that. So apparently Ridley Scott liked it. I think, again, it was a little strange. And when you like kind of think about the timeline, you're thinking to yourself, again, that's not all that impressive. And then like you just see him, like you see one like blow himself up. It's like, that's again, pretty cool tech. It looks like it blew up the world. We mentioned like Star Wars. They do have a Death Star on his freaking wrist. So anyway,
how powerful is that?
I know, dude, I know. I mean, he blew up the entire. It's like, and like they're like celebrating up. They're like, hey, we did it. What did you do?
Yeah.
You like it's like you did all this stuff or whatever, and they took you up. Like, what kind of hunters? And if you go back and listen to the commentary, like they're saying this is how they prove their manhood, and like they're how they graduate or whatever the hell the predators do, but. Apparently not too many graduated because the aliens just kept coming.
How expensive is it to create hunters, man? So you build